There is a specific kind of exhaustion that no amount of coffee can cure, and no amount of sleep can fix. If you are watching this, you probably know exactly what I mean. It is not just the fatigue of a long day or a hard workout. It is something heavier. It lives deep in the marrow of your bones. It is the gray, heavy weight of waking up in the morning, looking at the ceiling, and feeling like you have already run a marathon before your feet even touch the floor. You look in the mirror and you might wonder, is this just what getting older feels like? Is this just my life now? You are holding up the sky for everyone else. You are caring for aging parents, worrying about your children, managing a career, and maintaining a home. You have become so good at being the strong one that you may have forgotten what it feels like to be the rested one. But deep down, there is a whisper telling you that this is not sustainable. Here is the truth that might shift your entire perspective. If rest does not fix your tiredness, it is not a physical problem, it is a spiritual one. It is not your body failing you, it is your soul speaking to you. For decades, the depth psychology of Carl Jung has offered a profound map for this exact territory. Jung believed that this bone-deep exhaustion is not a symptom of weakness, it's actually a summons. It is a demand from your deep psyche to stop carrying a load that does not belong to your true self. It is the friction caused by wearing a mask that has become too heavy to sustain. In the next few minutes, we are going to walk together into this feeling. We will look beyond the hormones and the endless to-do lists to find the root cause of your burnout. We are going to identify the invisible emotional work that is draining your life force. And most importantly, we will discover how to finally put it down so you can return to yourself. You are not crazy, and you are not alone. You are just standing at the doorway of a profound transformation. Before we can heal this exhaustion, we must first name it correctly. Because what you are feeling is not a personal failure, it is a structural reality. You belong to a unique demographic, often called the sandwich generation. But that term sounds too neat, too tidy. It does not capture the crushing weight of being squeezed from both sides. On one side, you have your children. Even if they are grown, they still need you. Perhaps they are navigating a difficult job market or their own mental health struggles. Or maybe they are still young and require your constant physical presence. On the other side, you have your aging parents. You are watching the people who once held you up slowly begin to lean on you. You are managing their doctor's appointments, their medications, and the heartbreaking reality of their decline. And right in the middle is you, trying to maintain a career, trying to be a partner, trying to keep a household running. But there is a deeper layer to this, something that research calls the invisible load, or the mental load. This is not just about doing the laundry or cooking dinner. Those are visible tasks. You can tick them off a list. The invisible load is different. It is the endless, silent loop of planning and monitoring that plays in your brain 24/7. It is remembering that your daughter needs new shoes for soccer. It is noticing that your husband sounds stressed and planning a way to make his evening easier. It is worrying about whether your mother is lonely. It is knowing exactly when the milk will run out and when the dog needs his shots. You are the unacknowledged project manager of your entire family's emotional life. You are the emotional thermostat of your home. If someone is sad, you absorb it. If someone is angry, you try to fix it. You are constantly scanning the horizon for threats to your family's well-being. This vigilance never turns off. Even when you sleep, your brain is still processing, still worrying, still planning. And this brings me to a story. I want to share a story about a woman named Sarah. She is 48 years old, she has a good job, 2 teenagers, and a mother living 20 minutes away. Sarah told me about a moment she had recently, a moment that might sound familiar to you. She was driving home from work. It was 6:30 in the evening. It was dark, and she pulled into her driveway. She could see the warm light coming from the living room window. She could see her family moving around inside. It was a picture of everything she had worked so hard to build. A safe home, a family. But instead of feeling happy, Sarah felt a wave of panic. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tight that her knuckles turned white. She turned off the engine, but she did not get out of the car. She sat there in the silence, and for a terrifying moment, she had a fantasy. She imagined turning the car back on, backing out of the driveway, and just driving. Not to anywhere specific, just away. Away from the questions, away from the needs, away from the noise. She sat there for 10 minutes, just breathing, trying to summon the energy to walk through her own front door, to put on her smile and be mom again, to be wife again, to be daughter again. When she finally walked inside, she felt a crushing guilt. She thought, "What is wrong with me? I have a good life. Why do I want to run away from it?" Sarah thought she was ungrateful, but she was not ungrateful. She was depleted. She was suffering from what Jungian psychology might call the loss of the self. You see, when you give pieces of yourself away to everyone else every single day for 20 years, eventually there is nothing left for you. Imagine your energy is a bank account. Every time you worry about someone, that's a withdrawal. Every time you plan a meal, that's a withdrawal. Every time you suppress your own irritation to keep the peace, that's a withdrawal. For most women in their 40s and 50s, this account has been overdrawn for years. You are operating on a deficit, running on fumes. And society tells you that this is normal, that this is just what women do. We are praised for being selfless. We are applauded for multitasking. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. But your body knows the truth. That bone-deep exhaustion you feel, that's not just tiredness. That's your body keeping the score.
It's your nervous system stuck in a state of chronic hyperarousal, always ready to serve, always ready to fix. And here is the hardest part, the part we rarely talk about. You might feel invisible. You are doing all this work, holding all this space, but who is holding you? Who is worrying about your emotional needs? Who is checking to see if you are okay? Often the answer is no one, because you have made it look too easy. You have made the impossible look routine. So people assume you are fine. They assume you are a machine that runs on love and never needs maintenance. But you are not a machine. You are a woman with a soul that is starving. This invisible load is heavy, but there is something even heavier that you are carrying. Something internal. It is not just the chores or the aging parents. There is a psychological reason why you cannot put the load down. Why you feel guilty the moment you sit on the couch. Why you say yes when you desperately want to say no. This leads us to a profound concept in Carl Jung's work, something that explains why we trap ourselves in this cycle. It's not just about your family demanding too much. It's about a role you agreed to play a long time ago. Take a deep breath with me. I want you to ask yourself a question, and I want you to be honest. Who would you be if you were not the one who fixes everything? If you put the load down even for an hour, are you afraid that everything would fall apart? Or are you afraid that you wouldn't know who you are anymore? This fear is the key to unlocking your exhaustion. And to understand it, we must look at what Carl Jung called the persona.
In the language of Carl Jung, the persona is the mask we wear to meet the world. It is not necessarily a bad thing. We all need a persona to function. It is the polite smile you give the cashier. It is the professional voice you use in a meeting. It is the calm face you show your children when you are actually terrified inside. But for you, and for millions of women in midlife, this mask has become something else. It has become a suit of armor that you have not taken off in 20 years. Think back to when you were in your 20s or 30s. You were building your life. You were proving yourself. Society handed you a very specific script. It said, be a good mother, be a supportive partner, be a diligent worker, be the glue that holds everything together. And because you are capable, and because you care, you accepted that script. You crafted a persona called the strong woman, the woman who has it all together, the woman who does not need help. This persona served you for a long time. It got you the promotions. It kept your family stable. It earned you the admiration of your friends. How many times have people said to you, I don't know how you do it all? And you smiled, and you said, oh, I just manage. While inside, you were screaming. Here is the danger that Jung warned us about. He said that the greatest danger is when we identify completely with the persona, when we start to believe that we are the mask. You have worn the mask of the caregiver so long that you have forgotten that you are also a person who needs care.
You have worn the mask of the fixer so long that you have forgotten how to let things be broken. And this brings us to the root of your bone-deep exhaustion. Please listen closely to this because it changes everything. Your exhaustion is not just physical. It is not just because you drove the kids to soccer or cleaned the house. Your exhaustion is the energy cost of suppressing your true self to maintain the mask. Imagine you are holding a beach ball underwater. It takes constant, active pressure to keep it submerged. If you let go for even a second, it pops up. You have been holding that ball underwater for decades. No wonder you are tired. No wonder sleep does not fix it. You are burning all your life force just to keep the persona in place. I want to try something with you right now, a small experiment. Wherever you are, I want you to unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Take a slow breath. Now, I am going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it not with your polite voice, but with the voice inside your head. How long has it been since you were truly, honestly, not okay? How long have you been saying, "I'm fine," when you were actually drowning? 5 years? 10 years? Maybe longer. That gap between the "I'm fine, you show the world" and the drowning woman inside is where your energy is leaking out. It is a civil war happening inside your own body. And who is fighting this war? If the persona is one side, who is on the other? Jung called this force the shadow. Now, don't let the word shadow scare you. In our culture, we think of shadows as dark or evil. But in Jungian psychology, the shadow is simply everything you had to repress in order to fit in. Everything you had to shove into the basement to be a good girl. For many women, the shadow holds things that are considered negative, like rage, selfishness, lazy impulses. But here is the tragedy. Your shadow also holds your gold. It holds your creativity, your passion, and your wildness, and your desperate need for rest. When you were young, maybe you were taught that resting was lazy, so your need for rest went into the shadow. Maybe you were taught that anger was unladylike, so your power to say no went into the shadow. Maybe you were taught that putting yourself first was selfish, so your self-love went into the shadow. But the shadow doesn't disappear. It lives in the unconscious and it wants to be heard. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Right now, your shadow is directing your life through exhaustion. Since you won't let yourself rest consciously, your shadow is forcing you to rest by crashing your system. Since you won't say no with your voice, your shadow is saying no with your body. The migraines, the back pain, the brain fog, these are not just symptoms. They are the shadow banging on the door, demanding to be let in. You might have noticed this in moments of sudden, irrational irritation. Maybe your husband asks a simple question like, "What's for dinner?" and you feel a sudden flash of white-hot rage. And then you feel guilty immediately after. You think, why did I react like that? He just asked about dinner. That rage did not come from nowhere. That was your shadow leaking out. That was the part of you that is tired of serving, tired of deciding, tired of being the only one who knows where the ketchup is. It was the part of you screaming, I am not a servant. Or maybe you find yourself feeling numb. You look at your beautiful life and you feel nothing. That numbness is a defense mechanism. It takes so much energy to keep the shadow down, to keep the rage and the grief and the neediness at bay, that you have no energy left to feel joy. You can't selectively numb emotions. When you numb the dark, you also numb the light. This creates a profound sense of loneliness. You are surrounded by people who love you, but they love your persona. They love the mask. They love the woman who handles everything. They don't know the woman in the shadow. They don't know the woman who wants to get in the car and drive away. And because they don't know her, you feel unseen. You feel like an imposter in your own life, waiting for someone to find out that you are not as strong as you look. This is the midlife crisis for women. It is not about buying a sports car or having an affair. It is the moment when the mask becomes too heavy to lift. It is the moment when the shadow refuses to be silent anymore. And while this feels like a breakdown, Jung would tell you it's actually a breakthrough. It's the beginning of what he called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of inviting the shadow out of the basement and into the living room. But how do we do this? How do we drop the mask without letting our whole world fall apart? How do we stop this internal war that is draining our blood? It starts with identifying the single biggest behavior that keeps the mask in place. The habit that we mistake for love, but is actually a prison cell. I'm talking about overgiving. And to heal, we have to understand why we do it and how to stop.
Overgiving is a beautiful word for a painful habit. It sounds like virtue. It sounds like generosity. But in the context of your exhaustion, overgiving is often a trauma response or a safety mechanism. Somewhere along the line, you learned a dangerous equation. You learned that your worthiness is tied to your usefulness. You learned that if you are needed, you are safe. If you are needed, you will not be abandoned. So you give, and you give, and you give. You give time you do not have. You give energy you cannot spare. You give emotional support even when your own tank is empty. But here's the catch. The transaction is hidden. Unconsciously, you might be expecting that if you give enough, eventually, someone will give back to you. Or at the very least, they will notice how hard you are working and they will say, "Thank you, you can rest now." But that moment never comes because overgiving teaches people how to treat you. It teaches them that you have no limits. It teaches them that your needs are secondary. And when they do not give back, or when they do not notice, you do not just feel tired, you feel resentful. Resentment is a heavy word. It is one of those shadow emotions we try to hide. But I want you to look at your resentment differently today. In my experience, resentment is not a sign that you are a bad person. Resentment is a sign that you have overstepped your own boundaries. It is your psyche's alarm system. It is screaming, "You are giving away too much. Stop." So how do we stop? How do we shift from the exhausted caregiver to the woman who owns her own life? This is where we enter the most powerful phase of Carl Jung's philosophy, the concept of individuation. Jung believed that life has two halves. The first half of life is about building the ego. It is about establishing yourself in the world, finding a partner, raising children, building a career, fitting in, following the rules, wearing the mask. But then comes the second half of life, usually starting around age 40. Jung called this the afternoon of life. He said, we cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning, for what was great in the morning will be little at evening, and what in the morning was true will at evening have become a lie. This is why you are tired. You are trying to live the afternoon of your life using the morning's program. The program that says, please everyone, fix everything, be perfect. That program is expired. It is creating errors in your system. The goal of the second half of life is not to build more. It is to become whole. It is to turn inward and reclaim the parts of yourself that you sacrificed along the way. This is individuation. It is the process of stripping away the persona and revealing the true self. It sounds abstract, but it's actually very practical. It starts with reinterpreting your exhaustion. Right now, you view your tiredness as an enemy, an obstacle that is keeping you from doing more. But what if your exhaustion is your greatest ally? What if your body is doing for you what you are too afraid to do for yourself? Your body is setting a boundary. It is pulling the emergency brake. It is saying, if you will not say no to them, I will make you too tired to say yes. So the first step of your healing is to stop fighting the exhaustion and start thanking it. Thank your body for trying to protect you from being drained completely dry. The next step is to practice what I call the sacred pause. Women in the sandwich generation are conditioned to say yes immediately. Can you bake cookies for the school? Yes. Can you drive mom to the doctor? Yes. Can you lead this project? Yes. It's a reflex. I want you to break that reflex. For the next week, every time someone asks you for something, anything, I want you to give yourself permission to not answer immediately. Develop a new default phrase. Say, let me check my capacity and get back to you. Or simply, I need to think about that. That pause, even if it's just 5 minutes, creates a space between the demand and your response. In that space, you can ask your shadow, do I actually want to do this? Do I have the energy for this? Or am I just doing it to be a good girl? If the answer is no, and you say no, you will feel guilty. I guarantee it. The guilt will wash over you like a hot wave. But I want you to remember this. Guilt is the price of admission for a new life. Guilt means you are breaking the old contract. Guilt means you are choosing yourself. I would rather you feel guilty than feel resentful. Guilt passes. Resentment accumulates. Resentment rots the soul. When you start saying no, when you start withdrawing your overgiving, people around you might not like it. They're used to your service. They're used to your lack of boundaries.
They might say, "You have changed," or "You are being selfish." Let them say it. In Jungian terms, when you stop projecting the mother archetype onto everyone, when you stop mothering the world, you force other people to grow up. You force your children to be more independent. You force your partner to take more responsibility. You force your parents to respect your time. This is not cruelty, this is respect. Respect for them and respect for you. You are entering a new season, a season where your energy is precious currency. You can no longer afford to spend it on things that do not light you up. You have spent 40 years breathing out. Now it's time to breathe in. Imagine what your life would look like if you reclaimed just 20% of the energy you give away. What would you do with it? Would you write? Would you paint? Would you simply stare out the window and watch the birds? That is not wasted time. That is soul retrieval. You might be thinking, but I have responsibilities. I can't just stop. I'm not asking you to abandon your life. I'm asking you to abandon the martyrdom. There's a difference between caring for people and carrying people. You can love your family deeply without losing yourself in them. In fact, the best gift you can give your family is not your exhaustion. It's not your resentment. It's your wholeness. A woman who is rested, a woman who knows who she is, a woman who respects her own boundaries, is a lighthouse. She illuminates the way for everyone around her. This shift from overgiving to becoming whole is the work of the midlife transition. It's scary. It feels risky. But the alternative is to reach the end of your life and realize you lived it for everyone else, but you never lived it for yourself. Your bone-deep exhaustion is pleading with you to choose the scary path, to choose yourself. Because the world does not need more tired women. The world needs more women who are alive. We've covered so much ground today. We have named the invisible load, we have unmasked the persona, and we have begun to chart the path of individuation. But knowing this intellectually is one thing. Living it, while the dishes are piling up and the phone is ringing, is another thing entirely. You might be wondering, where do I even begin today? What is the very first step before I even try to set a boundary? It starts with a simple, radical act of acceptance.
Acceptance does not mean resignation. It does not mean you are giving up. It means you are finally looking at your reality and saying, I see you. For so many years, you have been fighting your exhaustion. You have treated it like an intruder in your home. You have tried to caffeine it away. You have tried to sleep it away. You have tried to willpower it away. And that battle, that constant resistance, has only made you more tired. So here is the radical act. I want you to stop fighting. Just for a moment, just for today. I want you to treat your exhaustion not as an enemy, but as a guest. A heavy, difficult, but necessary guest. Sit with it and say, I am tired, and that is okay. I am bone-deep tired, and I am allowed to be. When you stop fighting the reality of where you are, you reclaim the energy you were using for the fight. And in that quiet space of acceptance, something shifts. The shame begins to dissolve because you realize you are not tired because you are broken. You are tired because you have been carrying the world, and you are finally putting it down. We have opened a very big door today. We have touched on the sandwich generation, the invisible load, the persona, and the shadow. It is a lot to process.
You might feel a mix of relief and sadness. That is normal. In Jungian work, we call this the grief of the lost self. Let it be there. Do not rush to fix it. You do not need to overhaul your entire life by tomorrow morning. You do not need to quit your job or move to an island. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single pause. I want to ask you to do one small thing right now, a micro action to seal this commitment to yourself. I want you to go down to the comments section, and I want you to write just 3 words. I am listening. That's it. I am listening. By writing this, you are sending a signal to your own psyche. You are telling your shadow, I hear you. I am not going to ignore you anymore. I am ready to start the conversation. Read the other comments too. See how many others are writing the exact same thing. See how many others are feeling that exact same bone-deep exhaustion. You have felt alone in this for so long, but you are part of a vast, silent sisterhood, and we are all waking up together. This video is just the first step. We have acknowledged the spiritual and psychological roots of your fatigue. But I know that you still have to wake up tomorrow. You still have to make lunch. You still have to go to work. You still have to deal with the demands of your life. Knowing why you are tired is powerful, but knowing how to survive the day when your tank is completely empty, that is a different skill entirely. You might be asking, okay, I understand the soul work, but how do I get through Tuesday? How do I function when I feel like I am running on fumes? If you want to continue this discovery, please watch my next video, Running on Fumes, a survival guide for the woman who feels completely drained. In that video, we are going to move from the philosophical to the practical. I will share specific, tangible strategies to protect your energy field when you have nothing left to give. You will find new tools to keep your faith and regenerate your power source. It is the life raft you need while you are learning to swim. If this message resonated with you today, if you felt seen, perhaps for the first time in a long time, please consider subscribing to this channel. Don't do it for me. Do it for you. Think of this channel as a sanctuary, a quiet room you can enter whenever the noise of the world gets too loud. By subscribing, you are building a bridge back to this space, back to this wisdom, back to yourself. Click the like button not just to help the algorithm, but as a way of saying yes to your own healing. Share this with a friend who you know is carrying too much. You might just be the lifeline she needs today. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for being brave enough to look at the truth of your exhaustion. Remember, this is not the end of your energy. It is the beginning of your true life. The mask is heavy, but you are strong enough to take it off. Rest now, breathe, and I will see you in the next video.